Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? If you can hear the sound of my voice, that means you are locked into another episode of the Casual Friday podcast on the Knicks Film School YouTube channel. My name is Jeff J. On the other side, my guy, reporter extraordinaire, Kris P. On the other side of the screen. Kris, how you feeling today, man?
Good. The answer is good. I usually have some witty remark like, above average or something like that. But no, it's just good. I'm feeling good. We got a KFS meetup later today. It's a watch party. Donte, I think he was trying to make it to the watch party. So he said he's not going to play. And then they told him, nah, you got to sit on the bench because it looks bad otherwise. So he was like, sorry, guys. I think he and Jeremy have there's some club of guys that look somewhat alike, and that they've got this way of communicating. I don't know if it's like a ESP or whatever, however they do it, but he was going to come. Now he's not coming. He'll be sitting on the bench. He said, if he wears sneakers and ties them, it's a signal that he wanted to be at KFS. So look out. Maybe Donte will be wearing, if he doesn't go barefoot, that's the sign. But yeah, no, we're doing good. Come to T Squared if you're watching live. It's downtown. It's right next to Grand Central. So if you're not in New York City, who cares? Get on a train. We'd love to see you. So come hang out. Jeff, thanks so much for having me on. My KFS promo demon is done taking control of my body, and now the angel can speak. What's going on, man? Great to be here. Excited to talk to you and everyone in the chat about these New York Knickerbockers.
Yeah, ASAP. Always promoting. You got to do that, man. You got to do that. So it's all good. I'm chilling, man. I'm good. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Chat, what's going on? Send us your questions. Send us your comments. We got you locked in because today we are talking the Knicks mid-season vibe check. So I know you've seen a lot of content out there, Knicks content creators, national content creators giving their mid-season awards. We are doing a little different. We vibing out. We talking about the vibes, general consensus that what we feel about the team. Me and Kris are going to have an open conversation about what's going on with the squad. And you get to chime in. So definitely send us all your commentary about that. And Kris, I started off with this, right? Right now, the Knicks are 27-15, fourth best win percentage in the league. I think because of percentage points, they may or may not be the fifth overall seed in the league, but they're 27-15, in the third slot Eastern Conference playoff picture after 42 games. So midway point +1. Overall, how you feeling about this squad?
Yeah, it's fourth in the NBA because of percentage points.
Because of percentage points, right? They're fourth overall in win percentage.
They're 0.09. No, sorry, that's a lie. They're 0.009 above the Grizzlies. So, yippee. But yeah, no, I think right now, I do this all the time when I'm stressing about something, whether it's in my personal life or whether it's in a more compartmentalized, segment of my life, whatever it is. I always say, I zoom out and I decontextualize, and then I have to recontextualize. So it's like, my goal is to have my Google Maps exactly on our house that we're talking about. I got to show some alien the house. I'm starting out with the earth all zoomed out. All right, let me get back in. Let me zoom in. There's the country, there's the county, there's the town, there's the street, there's the house. When you build all the context back up from scratch to describe it to your alien friend, that is when I feel like you have a more objective. You have to peel off the emotions. Emotions are not something you can easily separate. You can't just say, I'm going to pull the red away from the blue. No, we you got to peel them off. Emotions are sticky. They're heavy. They're right. So this is a team that is 27-15. They've won 64% of their games. They're 8 games back from the buzzsaw Cleveland Cavaliers that are very loudly in first. First of all, being in first doesn't mean anything because I just watched the OKC Thunder walk them down. Microanalyzing standings at this point is like mowing your lawn while a twister is about to take out your entire house. I just can't it's like I got to make sure the grass is just right. I can't. Who cares? I did a podcast recently where I was like, the top 3 teams in the West are OKC, Denver, and Memphis, and all the Houston fans were like, "Well, if you look at the standings," and I was like, every podcast ever is people saying their opinions. I gave my opinion on the top three teams, and people sent me screenshots of the standings with like the thinking emoji. I was like, yeah. Good job, Sherlock. You cracked the case. The Rockets are top 3, and I still don't think they're the actual top. Anyway, I say this all to say, forget the trades, forget the expectations, forget the names, right? There is a coach who loves winning and has historically seen success, and he loves to run his players a lot of minutes. That actually kind of matches up perfectly with the Knicks' current situation. Right? Because the Knicks can't go 10, 11 deep the way some of these teams do. The Knicks don't have their stars practice every single day, high intensity, high wear and tear. Why? So that they can play 1 million minutes in the game. It's like maybe the Knicks don't have the exact same practice routine as the teams that try and get their stars under 35 minutes every night. The Knicks 35 is like the bare minimum. That's like you hating from outside the club if you play 34 because 30, like everyone's touching 40. So it's like I said, I just think that if you start from ground up and you try and be a little bit of an optimist, you think, oh, this roster is perfect for a coach that runs his top 6-7 guys starter minutes. Oh, this roster is clearly barren of third string depth. Well, they had Campaign and Keita Bates-Diop and all these guys that we thought, hey, they're really building out the third string after watching all those playoffs happen, all those injuries happen in the playoffs. They watched all those playoff series happen where the team was mired down by injuries, and they thought, let's build out that third string. We got you a Jericho Sims and a Campaign and a KBD. Those are good third string players. And then the cat trade happens and it's like, you're starting, you went from third string to top 7. You went from third string to top, like, so the team is now once again barren of depth. They need more than now to fix that, right? Because they just used all the picks and flexibility. So when you use logic, when you look at a glass that's half full as being both half full and half empty, instead of just one of the two, right? Because people telling you everything is fine and dandy with this Knicks team and there's nothing to be worried about are lying to themselves just as much as the people saying, I am so worried every day. This is affecting my mental health that the team isn't winning games. Like,
so the answer is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, it always is.
Okay. I definitely feel you on that. I think overall, I think the vibe that I have a good vibe. I think at this midway point, you know what the team strengths are, you know what their weaknesses are, you know what they need to do to improve. And I think any team in the NBA would rather have question marks with 27 wins than have question marks and be fighting for their lives in the play-in or trying to get to the play-in or trying to snag a top 6 seed. Right now, the Knicks are in third. They've at this point in the season won tiebreakers over the Bucks and the Magic. So essentially, the Bucks and the Magic have to win more games than the Knicks. They cannot tie in order to snatch that 3 seed or any seed above the Knicks. So that's good in terms of playoff positioning. This is a team right now, depending on what metric you use, whether it's cleaning the glass or the NBA.com stats page, they're a top 2 team in offensive rating. They've hit league average. It's been a long, hard climb. All their life they had to fight, but they have now secured a top 15th place in defense. They're average now, statistically average on the defensive end, and they've had flashes of brilliance on the offensive side. But I think if you ask me, what is a major issue of this team, we'll go right there. What is one of the major things that we've seen that's wrong? I think it's consistency above all else. They've won their 9 games in a row, but even within that 9-game streak, there were times where they looked like the ceiling version of the team that fans thought they could become. And at other times, it just seemed like they were vibing and were waiting to flip the switch and turn up and win the game whenever they wanted to, which is something that I've spoke about before. You cannot assume you have the privilege to play for real whenever you want. Not in this league, not in this era, because the 3-point line democratizes winning and losing in this game. 20-point leads aren't what they used to be. You can catch up. You can catch up at any moment. And if a team catches you slipping, then that's an L on your record. So I think for me, the consistency is one of the major efforts. Just being consistent in your game plan, especially defensive game plan, executing, running your plays, getting comfortable. It seems like they're comfortable with each other, but there's still brain farts that happen here and there and things like that. So I think, as I've always said, if they play their game and they can consistently just play their game, they're going to win a lot more than they lose. They're on a 65% win percentage right now. They've won 65% of their games. That could easily flip to 70 or 75 if they just execute their game plan to the best of their ability.
Well, given all the recent losses, it definitely comes out to like a 52 win pace. Oh, not 53. Sorry, Rob, but 52 wins. And that to me is fine, good, dandy, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I can't microanalyze. There's not some magic amount of wins that makes me think, okay, this team had a successful season.
Right.
That all said, I think you made great points. I think in support of them, I will say the Knicks swapped out certain players from their team last season for different players that then made their style of play inherently more suitable for guys like Brunson and Hart, right? Mm-hmm. Agree? But the spacing, it being the big point there. Okay. So in doing that, in creating a more spacious basketball environment for Brunson and Hart, they signed up for a style of play that inherently is more volatile than their previous. Their previous style of play was, hey, someone's missing a shot, whether it's us or them. We're getting that rebound, and we're getting that rebound. Where someone's gonna miss a shot at some point in this basketball game, and when that happens, we're gonna get that rebound. And then it would happen, and they're like, all right, someone's gonna miss a shot soon. We got to get that rebound. Like,
crash the boards, increase possessions,
high effort. That kind of style of play inherently demands high effort on a play-to-play basis. The Knicks now play a style of basketball that is so set on making things as easy as possible for all of their players that not only are they more volatile in terms of the results that can happen, they take more threes. So there can be more nights where they shoot 60% and more nights where they shoot 30%. And the nights where they shoot 60%, they're going to look like a team that would have sent the Monstars to relegation. And on the nights where they shoot 30%, they're going to look like the Monstars just finished having their way with them before tip-off, because that's how this style of play goes. It's volatile inherently. And as a result, You could even go as far as to propose a theory, to hypothesize that the Knicks style of play last season really demanded a lot of effort on a play-to-play basis, and their style of play this season, while defensively, because Thibodeau schemes always demand the most effort out of any coach in the league from the players themselves, it's also now it spread to the offense last year in a way that this year it's not. This year it's more about, okay, if you see open space, you got to cut into it, but that's true of any NBA offense ever.
For sure.
You're not crashing the glass as much. Now I think the players are just doing what they've got to do, and that's fine, but there isn't that extra edge of we got to give 105%. They're just trying to give 100. Now, the other side of that, these Knicks players just trying to give 100%. Do you hear how nuts that sounds to microanalyze? Are on pace to win 52 games. So what's the big deal? I guess is the other side.
I think what some fans would say is the big deal is this internal war of attrition that the Knicks are playing right now. And that is with the whole minutes police, minutes gate, all of that. The question is this sustainable? Are they able to maintain it? Yes, they've won these games, but, and I think the thing, get into a lot of it. I see a lot of questions coming in, so we'll definitely touch in on that. But I think there's a lot of factors that go into it where you gotta kind of weigh what the concessions are you're willing to make as a team, and you live and die by them. Obviously, for the past few years, Tibbs is a guy who plays their players. And it was funny. I saw Adam Silver. He was doing an interview, I think it was with Colin Cowherd, and he was talking about minutes and load management. And he said that he I'm paraphrasing here, but he said that they're in their research, what they're seeing is that maybe, just maybe, the reason why some players might be getting injured early in the season is that they're not playing enough.
That
they're
was very
load managing too much, and they might not be in a good enough game shape. This is how I took it.
Yes.
They might not have that game shape to where they can withstand the little bumps and blows and bruises and tweaks and stuff that'll happen. It's kind of like if you go to the gym and you don't warm up and you don't stretch, and when you're 21 and below, when you're 21 years of age and below, you could probably get away with that just because of the nature of your body. But once you hit a certain age, once you hit like 25, especially if you're not in quote unquote shape, you go to the gym and you just try to all right, I'm about to throw up 2 plates right now on the bench press. You all mess around and pull something because you're not in practice. You're not warmed up. And that's kind of what he was alluding to. So I thought it was just hilarious that he would propose that maybe people ain't played enough. And this also goes towards what the Knicks have experienced for the most part with good enough health luck that they're able to play together so many times. Let's talk about this team, and we're vibe checking. Casual Friday podcast, Knicks Film School, big vibe check, energy for y'all. We talking about the midseason and forecasting for what is yet to arrive. All right, Kris, who's your MVP of the team? Who's your MVP so far?
Karl Anthony Towns. And I say that with a question mark at the end on purpose because I think he both. We'll do it like this. MVP has never actually meant MVP, right? And so I'm going to go along with that, and I'm going to give it to Karl Anthony Towns because I do think the most valuable player has probably been Jalen Brunson, because without the floor that he gives the team, they would probably be in some dire play-in related straits. But without Karl Anthony Towns, they don't have the ceiling raised to the point that it has. Like, they probably don't walk down the Bucks the way they did. They probably, those wins where they probably don't eke out They definitely don't eke out that win on Christmas against the Spurs. Maybe there's a universe where Mitch was healthy and playing, and the Knicks beat the Spurs without Cat, with Randle and Mitch, with Donte coming off the bench, because they outdogged Wemby. Here's the thing. In that universe where Mitch is healthy, that is just as much of a holdup as Randle or Donte still being on the team. None of it is real. None of it's real. And so we gotta, stay with the current reality and think Karl-Anthony Towns is constantly making this team's floor feel like it hasn't started a paper yet that's due at midnight, and the team is getting closer and closer to that deadline. It's like, hey, we're gonna keep calling ourselves a contender, but if we're gonna do that, we've got to title this paper at some point, because the playoffs are coming. And oh boy, if we get to those playoffs and we're still looking at a blank page, I can tell you we are screwed. Yeah. So they're on edge. The way I live my life every day is on edge. I'm constantly plugging leaks and fighting deadlines, and that's how the Knicks defense is rocking right now. But Cat also makes the ceiling. He allows them to dream in a way that they wouldn't be able to. They'd be dreaming out of delusion. Now they could get hot. Why can't the Knicks be the Miami Heat version team this year that gets stupidly hot from three going into the playoffs and then sustains it? And they fizzle out in the conference finals, but they shredded their way there. And yeah, I don't know. You have to remember that when you sign up for these low lows and high highs because of someone like Cat, that just because you're in the low lows doesn't mean the high highs aren't coming. They might come right after the All-Star break. Knicks goes 16-0 after the All-Star break, and then right before the playoffs, a major player gets injured and the whole season becomes a wash. That is a possibility. It is also just as possible, as in this big of a chance of happening, that the Knicks go and win the championship because their hot three-point shooting streak sustains all the way through June. So, I think the point is we can sit here and do either one all day, or we can just talk about what we see, which is a good team that is clearly missing some key pieces to be a true, confident contender. Lots of teams are contenders because they happen to be at the top via process of elimination. Some teams are contenders like Cleveland and OKC because you're like, damn, no matter what, they're playing at the top level. The Knicks are a contender by happenstance right now. Will they become a true contender? Yeah, they probably need another piece or two. That'll help with the minute situation. That'll help with the depth. That'll help with this, that, and the third. I think next season, these expectations, next season, come to me and say, I'm concerned that this Knicks team isn't where they should be. And I'll be like, yeah, maybe they should look at firing someone. Right now, it's year one of them being serious.
Right.
If Mills and Perry did get Irving and Durant, if the first season, if they were 18-18, would you be like, fire everyone? You send them all home? Or would you be
they would have felt some pressure. Look, they would have felt the media pressure. They would have felt a lot of pressure. So I'm not gonna put it past people to say that they wasn't gonna say fire this person.
After 36 games, but that's the thing is okay, we know there would be people out there saying that, but there's somebody out there right now saying that Steph Curry is only better at shooting than Bob Cousy because of the era he grew up in. There's always someone saying something. It's about filtering, and I guess, yeah,
I get you. I do think it is Towns. Shout out to Andrew Claudio. He had a great analogy when I think in the last Casual Friday when he said, "This is the Brunson Cat dynamic. It's like Jeter and A-Rod on the Yankees. Only Cat doesn't have a frenemy relationship with Brunson, and there's no insufferability issues or anything like that. Not even coming to take their position. They don't play the same position on the floor. Where Brunson is the leader, the captain, and the team MVP, but Cat is playing up until this point like their best player. And I say valuable because he single-handedly changed their offensive dynamic. and raise their ceiling to the possibility, right? Like, of course, everybody has been playing well on that side of the ball to be synergistic with him. But I'm just saying the addition of him, even more so than Mikal Bridges, you see it in his numbers. He has 6 less rebounds than Domantas Sabonis right now. That's why he doesn't average. He was leading the league in rebounding. He's like 0.2 off of, or 0.02 or 0.2 off of Sabonis's pace. And he's averaging 25 points a game, 25 and 14 basically. Best center in the East. If you want to put him behind Giannis as the second big man, best big man in the East, I'll hear that. The votes have shown it on the All-Star. He's leading third in the East, and he's like top 6 or top 7 with 2.4 million plus votes. Like he has exceeded expectations overall. I've said it time and time again, and I'm gonna keep bouncing. I'm gonna keep touting this thing that I see is that this dude, his passing is phenomenal. And I know he's kind of regressed a bit from the last few games, but he has an eye. He can see the whole floor. He has the skill to throw fancy passes and really like high level of difficulty passes. He's 7 foot, so he can see over the defenses and he's able to pass. So yeah, man, I see that his defense is something that needs a lot of work, whether that's schematically. I think he has the ability, but they got to figure out what they want him to be in the scheme. And he just has to execute and tone down the stupid fouls here and there. I thought it would be more of a problem than it was this season so far. Like the way people were talking about his foul trouble, I thought this was going to be an every game thing. And I see he had some pockets. He has some pockets of foul trouble through like this later, I'd say 9-10 game stretch where like 6 or 7 of them, he'd get like the third foul before the end of the first half. And it's like, yo, come on, man. Come on, bring that into the second half. Like you don't need to pick up that third foul. But I think if you ask Knicks fans what would be the best version of Cat that they would want, I don't even think a majority of them imagine that he would be this player who fits perfectly in New York and who has that Venom type symbiotic relationship with the city and the team where they need each other and they become greater than the sum of their parts. So yeah, I give that to Cat all the way.
I think he's like the symbol of this Knicks team now.
You think he's the symbol? Cat is the symbol?
I'm saying like, I think his game, the high highs and the low lows, it all kind of represents what this Knicks team is. Cat's known as a 3-point shooter, but he really only likes to take about 6 a game. He doesn't want to take 8 or 9 or 10 a game. And the Knicks, like they got to shoot a lot of threes the way the league does, but they don't like to. They like to win inside and kill you in the mid range. And I just think Cat is a maybe okay microcosm, you know, but whatever. But I think he is like he's the MVP in part because he is the best representative of this team. I think in his game, like the Knicks haven't gone all in on the math and whatever and just playing their odds with threes, but it's darn close. And if you look at the efficiency landscape, you know, the Kirk Goldsberry infamous, famous last 10 games.
Every 10 games. Yeah. Last 10 games.
New York, man. I know they've been missing Cat for a little bit, but they are definitely on the positive side offensively. Like definitely on the positive side offensively. And they are definitely not super loudly whatever, but they're below the line defensively. Like they're definitely negative defensively. The Kings have had a better defense. The Nuggets, the Celtics, the Pistons, Spurs, Bulls, Heat, and Jazz have had better defense. Like, yeah, but offensively,
the last few games, yeah, they've hit their cold streak.
Offensively, on par with the Lakers and Pacers, but the Pacers defense has been way better recently, so it's far above the Knicks. Offensively, the Kings, Rockets have been better. The Cavs, the Nuggets, obviously, but like,
they've had a cold streak.
It's pretty interesting. So during a little cold streak offensively for the Knicks, and defensively, and Cat's been out a couple games. They're still like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, top 8, 9 in offense. It's just the defense that takes the hit where they fall to like middle of the pack in the NBA. So yeah.
What have you seen? Let's talk about the biggest surprise. Was something that shocked you the most? I'll tell you, I think for me, even more so than the defense for me, is probably how ineffective the bench has been, how ineffective and inconsistent. Because, folks was talking about, oh, this isn't a good bench. It's one of the worst benches in the league. It's a thin bench. They don't have a lot of depth. And I was looking, and I said, okay, before the Shamet injury, I was like, Campaign is serviceable. Landry Shamet is serviceable. Still got Deuce. Mitch, you can't count until now, 2025, right? Like once he starts ramping up, bringing Precious back, you got that continuity. And I honestly expected one of the rookies to step up and at least be seeing some type of meaningful play. And that hasn't happened. It's been super hot and cold. It feels like every time I'm going to look in the box score, the Knicks bench is getting blasted. And I'm talking about 43-10 type blasted. So I think for me, I didn't think their bench was going to be that horrible, to keep it real. Like I like in terms of their effectiveness, I thought that they'd be able to score more. And I know Deuce has been out for a string of games. Mitch isn't there. Shamet just got back. So they were thin at times. So I give them that caveat. But I really did not think that they were going to crater kind of the way they have. And this also goes into the whole, is Tibbs going to use his bench? Is there people that he should be playing? Should the rotation expand? All of these questions, which I think are valid questions to ask. But you take all of that together, the bench and the usage of the bench itself, and the bench effectiveness all together were something that shocked me the most, I guess in a negative way. What about you?
I think the biggest surprise for me in this Knicks season thus far, I want to say it's that it's tough, man. I want to say it's Jalen Brunson. I want to say Jalen Brunson's the biggest surprise because I have been surprised that he has not seemed more gelled, seemed more telekinetic, whatever it is, with Bridges. And I think part of it is, it's not DiVincenzo now, it's Towns, and they have to get chemistry with Towns, and he has the ball in his hands a lot, and the ball at least goes through his hands on a lot of plays, even if they're not in them for a lot of time.
Are you talking about Towns?
Yeah, Towns. So it's like,
I actually think they don't involve him enough. So that's interesting that you said he has a lot.
No, yeah, but I'm saying, like, yeah, no, I like that take. I just think it's still, a fair amount of usage and something for Brunson to get accustomed to. In seasons past, Jalen Brunson has had these moments where, like, he'll come out in a big game, playing in a way that he like never does in crunch time ever. And it's like he's trying to set up his own shots. He's trying to get himself straight. Right. He's trying to get himself into rhythm, because when he's in rhythm, then he can share the love. The thing is, when he's trying so hard to get into rhythm, no one else can get into rhythm. So then nobody's in rhythm. And the whole team is kind of just waiting, down 12-3, down 16-7, down 21-12. Timeout Tibbs for Jaylen to get in rhythm. And like the Knicks would have these slow starts because Brunson was trying to shoot his way into rhythm. This year, it's not happening. He's having the opposite problem. instead of trying to shoot himself into rhythm to a point where no one on the team is in rhythm, a la how the Knicks guarded the Timberwolves the last time they played them and they let Randle run the show, a la how the Bucks guarded the Suns in the finals and let Booker just shoot himself out of the game and shoot the Suns out of the game. It's been the opposite this year. Brunson is almost like trying to overshare. And then that leads to games where he's like, oh, no, I just got to be myself. And then he overshoots. He's having the quickly problem. And people don't want to talk about it because it threatens.
What's the quickly problem?
It in their mind threatens their take that Jalen Brunson's top 10, which I don't think it does threaten it. I think he can be that and still have this issue. He is trying to find a way to be a true point guard. He's someone whose biggest skills all do not have to do with being a floor general, right? And so like in the traditional sense of the word. And so in trying to find that balance between when to score and when to play make and when to listen to the defense in the one way and when to listen to the defense in another way, he has become a little robotic. He has become a little, how do I put it? Like if someone does something the same way every day and then all of a sudden their wife says to them, like you scrunch your nose when you go to open a door. Why do you do that? Why do you scrunch your nose every time you go to open a door? That guy, every time he goes to open a door, is going to be like, okay, my face is straight. My arm is going, like, he's going to be hyper aware, right? So, yeah, I can just say, like, I think Jalen's a little hyper aware of his balance between scoring and passing. And that is just probably what surprised me most. I kind of just assumed that wouldn't happen. Other than that, nothing is surprising to me. And I don't mean to sound like an ass, but like, okay, a team that made a trade the day before media day or whatever is having trouble with their depth. Okay, a team that made a trade a week before media day that knew that they were going to be missing Robinson for the first few months of the season, that then also lost Achua and then also lost Shamit, is having depth problems. Oh, the agony. Okay, like I don't care. I don't care. And the people that hem and haw on a nightly basis about the minutes, the players don't care. Why do you? It's like fans lament on Twitter about the money that a director is spending. Quote, one fan is terrified for the studio about the expenses. The studio greenlit the damn expenses and they hired the director and gave him the budget. Why are you sad for them? I can't believe it. It is like the most ass backwards bootlicking approach to fandom I've ever seen. It's reverse bootlicking. I don't know if there's a word for that, but I'm sick of pretending like everyone is entitled to their own equally intelligent opinion. We're all capable of reading box scores. I can see the number under the MIN column. It's damn high. I'm aware of that. I see it on the court and in the box score. We know. But the thing is that we don't care. We have all this information, and our takeaway is that we don't care. And then you sit there and you're like, I've decided that I care, and that means that everybody else needs to just as much as me. And we're like,
a lot of people care though.
And we're like,
do care.
And we're like, meh. And they're like, what? Don't. Because we've looked at all the data, we've listened to the experts, and we've decided that we don't care. But there's something wired deep inside your brains, the same way that Tom Thibodeau could be up by 77 points. If there's 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, the starters are on the goddamn floor because he saw with his own 2 eyes Tracy McGrady take math and science and reality and logic and historical precedence and dial it up and fart into the phone and hang up and win that basketball game. So he is never going to be able to function rationally again. Josh Hart said it, and he said it jokingly, but he damn well meant it. He's like, nah, that game like did something to Tibbs. And he did that with his eyes.
Traumatized him.
He was like, that Tracy McGrady, it did something to him. Like, he's got unworked out issues because of that game. He's right. But you know what? Knick fans have unworked out issues with Thibodeau, and they have unworked out issues with the minutes, and they have Knick fans. So
how do those issues get worked out?
They get worked out one of 2 ways. The season goes on, and the gods of chance and probability wanted to pull off a really funny prank, and they decided to make sure that no Knick players get hurt, or things happen like they do in the world of sports, and a player gets injured, whether by an MB like yank, or whether by a Ja Morant like landing, or whether like a totally accidental hard turn off of a screen, right? No matter what, someone might get hurt, and then have fun at war. Half people are going to be saying it was going to happen no matter what. If you drive a car 60,000 miles, you might get in 1 accident. If you drive a car 120,000 miles, you might get in 2 accidents. It doesn't mean one's a worse driver than the other. And then you're going to have half of people saying, this is why I always knew he should be on the street with a cup begging for change. And it's like, we've got to land somewhere in the middle, y'all.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I do think there's merit to saying, yo, you have players that are out. You got to figure out what you have. And I know some people are like, oh, well, you put out those rookies and they give up 12 points in 2 minutes and blah, blah, blah. But for a team that doesn't practice as much, I just wonder how. I don't think just getting crunch time minutes is conducive to determining whether or not you have viable rotation players on your bench. You got to, especially when I think about how the league is trending, and those who are breaking the trends are going left when everybody's going right. It's either they're going to start a new trend or it's going to end up failing. It's like there's only one or another. When Steph Curry and the Warriors started really exponentially running the 3-point era, right? When they started leaning heavily into that beautiful game offense and 3-point shooting, folks were like, yo, you're not going to win an NBA title shooting threes. Then they started winning NBA titles, and the whole league said, if we're going to beat the Warriors, we got to put up threes. It's this time now. 3-point shooting is a skill, and it may be a necessity in order to keep up with these teams. They zigged when everybody else zagged and was still playing traditional offenses. They said, hey, we're going to go this way. We're going to do something unconventional and experiment and see if it works. And it did, right? So the way I look at the trends now in the league are towards expanding rosters, at least in the regular season, expanding rosters, resting players, keeping players fresh so that they'll be able to expend more energy April, May, June. Tibbs is going in the opposite direction where he's saying, yo, I came from the era where people play games. So we're going to play games. And this is how we're going to do it. If I don't trust you, you can't get on the court. I want to win every game. Somehow, some way, those ideologies are going to collide. Last year, Josh Hart, he had the abdomen injury, but we already knew that the team was a ticking time bomb. Once all the injuries happened, we knew that the team was a ticking time bomb, and this was the time to play people as much as possible. Hart was playing full games, and then eventually even his Herculean motor went out. Eventually the timing chain popped, right? So this is what I think is the thing to look out for, is how do you maximize the talent that you already have in order to be successful long term? Not just thinking today is today and there is no tomorrow if we don't get out of today. That is true in a vacuum, but overall, you could expend all your energy today, and then tomorrow you're in a worse position than you were 24 hours ago. So that's where I think the conversation can have some sort of middle ground. I think it's logical to say, yo, see what you got, expand the bench, especially if this guy is out and that guy is out. I've seen the Cavs do it. I've seen the Thunder do it. I've seen the Thunder were missing Chet and Ihart. They were missing Chet and Ihart in the game against the Cavs and still ran a 10-man rotation. Still, they got guys, they might get 6 minutes, they might get 8 minutes, but they're still seeing time on the court so that you can get everybody else some type of rest. So I do think there is some middle ground that we could find. The extreme on either end is kind of like, guys, there's got to be a different solution. So that's where I sit with it. And this is Casual Friday, Knicks Film School Podcast. We are locked in talking about the midseason check-in vibes. Gonna go to your questions, gonna go to your super chats, see what the people have to say about this topic and how they feeling about the squad. First off, super chat. I95 Bully, thank you so much. Salute to the Smiles and South Star of KFS. I'm going to block you. I'm going to find you and I'm going to block you. You're an asshole. But thank you so much for the contribution. That's hilarious. Andrew Claudio. TGICF.
That's really funny, dude.
Yeah. He got that shit off. I can't hold you. TGICF. How do we think the crowd will react to Julius tonight during intros, and why should it be a resounding applause? Yeah, I think he should get the same reception, even more than what Ihart got. I mean, for all your issues that you might have had with Julius, understand this is the dude who was here, who came here when KD and Kyrie did not, who was here from the We Here era through the pandemic, and was one of the building blocks of this current Knicks team. Now, you could say, all right, we knew that he wasn't going to be around when if they're going to see the next level of development. Okay, cool. But he was here. They were successful. Two-time All-Star, two-time All-NBA while he was here. Like, I think it would be the right thing for Knicks fans to salute him. Salute him, give him the cheers that he earned, regardless of thumb down gate or whatever. He earned them. He earned that. So they gotta show him some love. They gotta show him. I hope they show him a whole lot of love. How you feel about it, Kris?
I mean, people know that I often felt during Randles' tenure that Knicks fans they didn't undervalue him. They didn't blah 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 blah. They just didn't value what he contributed that was positive. Like, there's good and bad to everything. But when you've decided that something is only good, you are blind, right? Like, okay, I really like finished chocolate. I'm often jealous of Lauri Markkanen because Fotzer mails him free boxes by the dozens. And like, oh my God, that's a dream setup. But like, if I got mailed that much chocolate, my fat ass would eat it all. And then I'd have to roll on to Casual Friday. Like, there's good and bad to everything, you know, like there's certain ways to look. For me, if I've decided that the chocolate is all good, I'm gonna eat a lot of it. And then I'm gonna be rolling on to Casual Friday. If you decided that Randle is all bad, he can score 46. What are you gonna say? And you know what? And he still didn't pass the ball. Quickly was open in the corner. And I tell you, I've been watching 34 years. I never seen someone love to shoot the ball as much. Okay, your mind's made up, right? Like, I mean, you know where I work. You know what the impersonation is of the callers we get daily. But like, you know, when it comes down to it, I think Randall did a lot of positive. And sure, if someone was in that role, someone would have done a lot of positive. They also would have done a lot of negative. If somebody was your Uber Eats driver, you would have tipped them instead. But the person who brought you your food is who brought you your food. So you tipped them. The person who held the door open for you on your way into work is the person who held the door open for you. Anyone could have done that, but they did it. So you say thank you. And I think it's that simple, yo. I think it's that simple. And they did a little return thing, right? For Randall. He didn't play, but they did a little video. You know what? Make an image. Just make an image. Have like some AI create 200 random pictures of Randall and make a big collage and put them all in black and white like he died. Like we do in sports. Whenever someone gets traded, it's like they died.
Please don't put it in black and white.
That's what we put it in black. That's what we do in sports. That's what
when they die. Yeah.
No. I'm saying when they get traded, it'll be like, you know, like, thank you for the happiest years of my life. And it's like all the
they can do the same thing they did with iHeart. Like, even if they don't want to play the video again, just cheer him during the intros, because he didn't play during the preseason.
Throw up a picture in that fancy font they do. Thank you, comma,
right,
Julius Randle, exclamation point. And then don't thank him like over the PA or anything. And have Washevsky say his name in a little friendly uptick there, like, you know, Nikhil Alexander Walker, and at center Rudy Gobert, Julius Randle. That's it.
Yeah, no, I think you got to give him an intro. Excitement. You got to give him an intro. I think you got to give him an intro. He made All NBA and All Star. Like he like Isaiah Hartenstein got like the Isaiah Hartenstein. Like he got that. He didn't get his call, right? He didn't get his Nick call. I think Julius Randle and Donte. I wish he was playing, but they both deserve to get that call. Andrew, once again, also, can we take the next 10 seconds and laugh at the entire city of Philadelphia? And this is Andrew's whole laugh track on the city of Philadelphia.
I mean, objectively, we have to take 10 seconds. And I'll tell you why I will take 10 seconds. You can take 10 seconds for the team. I cover the whole NBA. I don't laugh at any one fan base for their misfortunes, but I will laugh at the city of Philadelphia for their entire government getting used and played like a fiddle by the Comcast, the negotiations for the arena and the TV rights. That whole we're going to move to Jersey thing was just a TV rights negotiation ploy. And the city officials and the government never picked up on it, and they like were dead serious about the whole. They were like really deep in the Trojan horse. The Philadelphia 76ers, I won't laugh at you, but to the city of Philadelphia, like Andrew said, yeah, I got 10 seconds.
Y'all are hilarious.
There we go. That was 10.
I just know that they were talking about putting that arena in the heart of Center City. And I, as somebody who pretty much lived out there for like 4 or 5 years working out there and whatnot, that was the worst. It would be like if somebody said, create Madison Square Garden, but there wasn't a Madison Square Garden there yet. Like, it's not a good idea to put a whole arena in the middle of a busy populated area, right? Like, to just drop it in. Like at the time there was, I mean, it was busy, but they had to take their chance when they created the new garden, right? But like, yeah, especially in Center City, I was like, y'all better leave Wells Fargo where it is, and y'all gotta figure that out. Maybe renovate it, but there was no way that shit was gonna work. No way in hell. And I was surprised that even Philadelphians might have been lightweight entertaining that. But I'm like, those are the people who don't be going into the city for work. It would have been a complete disaster. Jay Berg has a question. Thank you, man. A lot of people calling for Tibbs' head got me thinking about current best coaches. Who is in y'all's top 5? Oh, that's a good question.
That was great. Spo.
Spo for sure. Spo might be my number one.
They don't want to hear this. Give me Joey Maz, bro.
Oh yeah.
Give me Joey Maz.
I put Joe Mazzulla up there. Give me Kenny Atkinson.
Whoa.
I put Kenny Atkinson up there now because
I like that, but I can't do it yet. Because you know why? Because we've seen how he reinvented himself using Golden State, the experience he gained there. But it's the same thing with players, right? Yeah, you putting up 30 on Tuesday against Charlotte. Show me in the playoffs.
I'm saying it's worth a conversation. I think my definites.
I think Jamal Mosley is more worthy than Kenny Atkinson today.
I could see that for what he's had to work with, for sure. But if you told me the Cavs are going to be 34-6, I would have thought you were on every mushroom on this planet Earth.
Guess who had them finishing above the Knicks and in like the top 2 seed?
Oh, I thought they were going to win like 50-55, not on a 73 win pace.
I thought I had like 55-60. I thought it was gonna get. I thought it was gonna get
because
scary.
They're a good regular season team. Like they go off on the regular season. Like, well, especially with their continuity, I did expect them to bounce back. Like I did think that they would.
Jay Berg in the chat, Ty Lue. He shouted out Ty Lue alongside Mosley. That's a good one. I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Chris. What's your 5?
Spo, Lue. Yes, Alex, you missed it. We did 10 seconds earlier. Rewind. Spo, Lue. Damn.
You still gonna rock with Mazzulla?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Mazzulla. I want to go Mosley. I also kind of want to show Thibodeau his credit. Like, he actively deserves. Let's go with some legacy guys. Let's go. You know what, Mazzulla? You got Tatumed in. You got dropped into like the best situation possible. We'll make you earn it. We're gonna go Spo, Thibodeau, Kerr, Dagnall, and Lue.
So no Pop there.
No.
Are you taking him out because he's like inactive currently? Unfortunately.
No. He could.
You still think even with him around, you're not buying?
I think I unironically believe that Tom Thibodeau is a better coach than Pop today because he has been more willing to change what he believes.
What about
Dagnall? Dagnall is a great call.
No, I Taylor Jenkins.
You know what, man? I don't see it with him. I don't, because when you are the head coach of a locker room that can devolve the way that theirs did last year, when you are the head coach of a locker room that blames Dylan Brooks, ostracizes him, leaks to the media that the team didn't want him back.
Are you talking about Taylor Jenkins?
Yeah, and then the team stinks without Brooks because Morant got suspended. Why did Morant get suspended? That guy is, I think, a good X's and O's coach. He has yet to show me that he like has the command and respect of his locker room to the extent that's needed to be playing at a championship level. Like, I'm not there yet with him. I would go. I think Dagnall has earned his way up, but again, playoffs, I need to see more. The guys who are locks, it's
Spo,
Lue,
Tibbs, and Lue, right?
Lue, Spo, Tibbs are the locks. Kerr, I want to throw in there. I want to throw in like
Kerr. We have been hearing the Golden State fans talk about him. They be giving him
Jim
help.
Park isn't that guy, those guys.
I'm talking about fam. I'm not talking about agendas and shit like that.
Those guys would hate
what you call it. I'd also say I can see Dagnall. I can see him. I think you gotta give Ime a look. You gotta give Ime a look. You know, we talk about coaching. You gotta give Ime a look. Like,
I agree.
I think there's an argument that Ime could have won that title that Mazzulla won. I think it's a strong argument that Ime could have won. And quietly, because did Mazzulla win it in his first year as head coach? He did, right?
Yeah.
They was right there. They was right there, bro. They was right there. So, yeah. I'd say for me, I'd go.
Oh no, I lied. Second.
Spo Tibbs, Lou, Dangled, and Ime. I think that's what Jamal Mosley's my sixth man. Mosley's my sixth man because
second season.
What he's doing right now is incredible. Real quick, Edu Claudio from the top rope. I was right about Cleveland, Kris, who had them finishing 5th in the East before Boston, Philly, Indiana, New York in our preseason predictions. Damn, that's crazy.
I mixed them up with Philly.
That's crazy.
I put Philly at 2. I put Philly at 2. I had Philly at 2. That's bad.
I forgot what my predictions were, but I think I had the Cavs up there. I had the Bucks. I think I had Knicks, Celtics, Cavs. I think I had Boston, Knicks, Cavs, Bucks in my top 4. I think that's what that was. I think that was my top 4.
I remember not having the Knicks top 3 or 4 or whatever.
Actually,
I had them at 4. Yeah, I had the Knicks at 4, and people were mad. And I was like, I just think they're going to be teams. But I was wrong about who. It was Boston and Cleveland, not Philadelphia or Indiana. Indiana, man, got to get Halliburton better mattresses on the road. That's really good. That really seems to be it.
Okay, so I pulled up my personal ones. My top 6 in the East was Boston. Yeah, Boston, New York, Cleveland, Milwaukee, Indiana, Philly. So those last 2 are kind of falling off a cliff. My play-in was Orlando, Miami, Atlanta, and Charlotte, which means like Charlotte's already fell off the cliff. Philly is on the cliff. They're looking over the edge. Yeah. So there you go. Let's get into some more. Oh boy, G, thank you for the question. How much of the Knicks' current record do you attribute to the easy first half schedule? I would say maybe 3/4 of it. But then you know, at the same token, and I've been beating this drum for a minute. Cleveland has had the easiest schedule, had the easiest schedule up until like last week. Like maybe like as of the 38th and 40th game, they had the easiest schedule, and the Knicks had the second easiest schedule. The Knicks in that span have dropped 2 games to Detroit, 2 games to Chicago, 2 games to Atlanta. Right? Like if you're talking about games they probably should have won. So that's 6 games right there. So if you take those games away, they'd be like 32-8. And Cleveland's 34-6. I think Cleveland has won a lot of the games that they were supposed to, along with beating top teams in the league. I don't think that this is one of the questions where I wanted to have that deeper conversation. I don't think that this wouldn't be a topic for discussion if the Knicks would have beat one of those good teams early on. We get into this conversation about quality wins and who have they beat. To me, I'm like, yo, I want them to at least show that they're competent and then beat them when it matters. Because I remember going into that series against the Hawks when the Knicks had swept them. And then look what happened. They were ready for the playoffs, and they Knicks got exposed, and they got gentlemen swept. Right? There's been evidence on both sides of where if you compete and you win in the regular season, you could carry that over to the playoffs. And on the other side, I just think as of now, given where the Knicks are, given how they are a work in progress right now, and they're pretty much a newer team as opposed to a lot of these teams that they're facing that have had the continuity that these Knicks just haven't had as a unit. I think they are right. I think they're going to have to get some more signature wins against the top elite teams in the league in order to bolster confidence, I guess the national confidence, and maybe instill some confidence in the fandom to say, yo, we can beat these dudes. I know we could beat these dudes, right? So I think that's really more so what the importance is right now. If you go into tiers, game tiers, I think we clear. I'm low-key ready to put the Thunder in their own tier and then talk about everybody else at this point. But just for the sake of respecting what I've seen so far and what I've seen before, I think OKC, Boston, and the Cavs are that first tier. I think you can put Memphis. I've heard people say that the Knicks are a tier below Memphis and Houston. I will right now say Memphis, Houston, and the Knicks. I'll put them all in the same tier only because the Knicks haven't played the Grizzlies yet, and they lost to Houston earlier in the year. They all pretty much are hovering around a similar record. So I'll put them in a tier below who are I think the real contenders. And really that gap between the first and the second tier is pretty wide at this point, because them three teams have been head and shoulders above everybody else. But I think it's a great place to be if you are this team with their circumstance. I think it's an excellent place to be. So yeah, they cleaned up against teams that were lesser than them. They currently have a under 500 record, like they're one game under 500 against teams that are over 500. So that's whatever. They're still top 5 in point differential. There's ways that you can look at the data to say there's something to them not beating those teams, but there also is something to say that they're still a good team overall, and it's a matter of when they catch these teams and when they play them, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Oh, and shout out to Andrew, my bad, that said that Missoula won it in his second year.
Yes.
Won it in his second year, and they lost to Miami in the first year. So for that, I will say they probably beat Miami if Ime is there, I think. So that was my whole point. What do you think about the schedule, Kris?
I was gonna say, like, what 40%. I have to like throw some arbitrary random number on it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't care. I don't really think about that often. You just look at each game. You look at what opportunities the team had in front of them, and what of those opportunities, which ones did they take? In how they took them, did they take them the right way? Did they take them effectively? Did they take them efficiently? Did they win the game, but did they do so falling ass backwards into the end zone? Or did they draw up a trick play for a 60-yard game-winning touchdown? Or did they not need a game-winning touchdown because it was the Wizards on a Tuesday and they've won by 30? Like, whatever it is, and shout out to the Wizards, by the way, that was a crazy strain thinking back on it. But yeah, I don't care. So whatever. I think, like, I'm not trying to like dictate what talking points are allowed about the Knicks. I just think it's funny how this team could so easily be a soapbox for fascinating conversations that people don't have the answers to because nobody does. But instead, the fan base focuses on these conversations that like no one in the fan base has answers to, but like the team does. And so clearly the people that don't have you're clearly just wasting your time chasing your own tail when like there's a bag that reeks of treats right next to you and you're so busy running in circles around your tail. Like this Knicks team could give way to conversations about the state of basketball, about how they built it, the team building, how they went about constructing the team. You could talk about OG Anunoby. I'm surprised that he's not I think it would be silly discourse, but like I'm surprised one of the big talking points right now isn't like, oh, what's wrong with OG? What's wrong with
some people have brought it up, saying that his defense fell off a little bit. They don't know what's going on. Offense,
well, no. I think we've all noticed the defense recently. He's taken some gambles and whatever. Like I think he's just trying to fit into a defense that now has Cat as its pin down low, and people have noted that and been right and smart to do so. That said, I just think like the minutes thing, the schedule thing, like these are all relatively silly to focus on in the grand scheme of things compared to some other very valid concerns you could have, like the depth. Like the minutes to me seems like more of a symptom of the depth than it does the disease itself. Like I'm sure that if there were one or two more players on the bench instead of one or two of the guys that Thibodeau doesn't trust, that he does trust, that he'd be running 8 or 9 guys deep pretty heavily. But he doesn't have those guys, so he's not. And yeah, so it's, to me, like, a lot of these discussions are pretty circular. You either let things play out or not. And if you're not going to let them play out, then fire the coach. And if your take is, I don't think the Knicks should fire Thibodeau, but I do think that they should closely monitor the minutes situation and see how it handled. Congrats. That's their job. Like, they know. You know, yeah.
For those who want to know, the Knicks right now, with 40 games left, have the second toughest strength of schedule, only behind the Phoenix Suns, which is a lot, which is type scary for the Suns, which is really type scary for the Suns given their position right now. Where they are right now, they're 10th. They're holding on. They had a tiebreak, I guess, over the Warriors for that final play-in spot. But yeah, it's gonna be, and that's pretty much because they play the Cavs 3 times and the Celtics 3 times. Like, honestly, I feel like percentage points, and they play the Grizzlies twice and the Rockets once. They still got 2 more games against the Clippers, 1 game against the Nuggets. It's really, to me, it's really that those 6 games left against Cleveland and Boston that is anchoring this strength of schedule. Otherwise, they'd be like in the mid-range with everybody else.
Side note here. Side note came out this morning at 9:19. The Kia MVP ladder. Cade Cunningham into the top 10 for the first time this season. He made it to number 9. Victor Wembanyama fell from number 4 to number 5. This is the NBA.com.
Right.
Why did Wemby fall from 5 to 4? Because someone jumped from 6 to 4, averaging 25, 14, and 3.5. Karl Towns, number 4 on the Kia MVP ladder on NBA.com. So Giannis, Jokic, Shea ahead of him, as they should be. But
and him.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I think
that's where he is right now, is number 4. And
I would entertain. I would entertain a Wemby or Mitchell talk,
Tatum,
only because they have a record.
Tatum over Mitchell.
I mean Tatum. I'm sorry, Tatum or Mitchell talk. I'd entertain that. I'd even entertain Wemby because, you know, he's doing the I can't believe I ain't see that ever in my life type shit. But yeah, it's a testament to what he's doing. And FYI, he has that thumb sprain with the little bone chip. I watched him drop 19 points on a sprained thumb, or the freshly sprained thumb, chipped thumb. I think he's going to be all right. Like, this dude is a different type of dude offensively. Like, he's like the type of dude that he might be on some Larry Bird type. I'm going to shoot my left hand today just to see what I could do, and could probably drop 20. So thank you, old boy G, for the question. And we'll end with Cosmo Payne, who asked, when Mitch returns, do you think he'll adjust his play style to stay healthy? He always plays hard and throws his body around. Could make him slightly less impactful to stay on the floor. I think the fact that he's leaned out more is going to help him, because he put on a lot of like muscle the last year, and I think that went against him. So I think him leaning out is going to help a lot. I also think the minutes police will not have to be called on Thibodeau for Mitch. He's going to have some type of restriction, get that calm 15, 20 minutes a game. And I think he'll be the most effective there. And I'm interested to see his time with Cat shared on the floor together, because I do think there are advantages offensively that you have with Mitch that you wouldn't have with a Rudy Gobert. And the fact that he attacks that, I believe he has a better career field goal percentage around the rim than Gobert. If it's comparable, and the way he attacks with the ferocity that he attacks with, like he might not be able to hit free throws as frequently, but I think he's enough of a threat to where they're probably just gonna run pick and rolls with him and then get open shooters, because you got to honor the roll man. You got to honor the man in the dunk spot. So I'm just interested to see what they're going to do with him and Cat, and just him in general.
Yeah, no, it is very interesting. And I think the Knicks themselves, like, I think before the season started, there were people in the Knicks organization who genuinely thought that Mitchell Robinson had probably played his last game with the team. And then as the season kind of got off to the start that it did and continued, I think the Knicks realized more and more that two factors were coming into play at the same time. One being the demand. They needed Mitch a little bit more than maybe they thought they did after acquiring Towns. And the other being the supply. The trade market isn't what they thought it was, and Mitch's value isn't what they thought it was. So they need to raise the demand for Mitch and raise their supply of Mitch from being someone who hasn't played a game yet to someone who is healthy and able to play and can show it. So I think maybe now it's in the Knicks' best interest to return Robinson from injury, see what the team looks like with him out there on the floor, and then go from there. If they want to deal him, maybe then they can do so, given that he'll actually have some value. If they want to keep him, they'll be able to do so intelligently as opposed to guessingly, because they'll know what he looks like out there on the court. So, yeah, you know, I reported before the season that the Knicks were still active on the trade market and shopping Robinson. That was true. They continue to check in with teams on what they could get back for Robinson, but it's not like they're calling up teams and saying, hey, we're desperately trying to move Mitchell Robinson. What would you give us? They're calling up teams and saying, hey, we want this guy. What would you want? Oh, cool. How about Mitchell Robinson? You know, so it's a little different. They're not like desperately shopping him. He's also not untouchable. Like I do think they're trying to, at this point, get him back on the court to see, one, where his value is to the team, and two, where his value is around the league.
Right. And I definitely check my just check what I said before. Yeah, Gobert is smoking Mitch at the rim. He's leading in dunks. He's almost 90% and 70 to Mitch's actually it was like 60%, which I'm like, really? Like that's because I couldn't find the career numbers, so I was just looking at from their previous year. On dunks, he was 50 because he was 50 for 57. So that was like 87%, 88%. So it's like, actually, wait a minute. Did I dumb out on that? Hold on 1 second before we get out of here. Mitch, oh, because those were dunks. Yeah, so he was 78 for 131. So he's like 60%, and Gobert is like 70. Still 60% at the rim is awesome. And I think that's something that will hopefully be an even greater strength when the Knicks get him back, and they need him. That bench needs him. That bench really, 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 really needs him. Yo, Kris, we did it. Midseason check vibes. Another casual Friday, man. Definitely thank you for joining us. Tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, man. Twitter.com/that@. Also, I write for Clutch Points about the NBA. You can go look up my name on Clutch Points and my author page will come up. You can click on any of the articles I've put out there. You can also check out the All Things NBA from A to Z podcast. We just did Contender or Pretender for the top 3 teams in the West. If you want to hear me talk about some NBA teams out West, some non-Knicks, but NBA talk, that show is the place for it. Jeff, I appreciate you a million.
Yes, sir.
If you're listening and not planning to go to the KFS watch party tonight at T Squared in downtown Manhattan, shoot me your name and like email, and we'll talk. You know. Yeah,
man. You see the graphic
throw that
up
up.
here.
Throw that up. Yeah.
Partnership with Juan, please. You already know the vibe. 7 East 42nd Street. Fantastic spot to watch basketball. So go out and join the guys, man. Join the guys, and we got it locked in. That is Kris Persianen. I'm Jeff. This is Casual Friday on Knicks Film School. Like this video if you love what you're hearing. Comment, share this video, tell a friend, and subscribe to this channel so that we could do more in this Knicks content space for you. Got a phenomenal team, and with your support, we can reach even higher heights. This is Casual Friday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Minnesota in town tonight. Julius Randle, Donte's not playing, but the Timberwolves come to town. It's gonna be a fun one, man. If you can come out to check the squad at T Square, do that. And yeah, man, that's what we got upcoming. This is gonna be a fast and furious run towards All-Star Weekend. Games like every other day. So it's gonna be an exciting time in Knicks land, man. And I can't wait to talk more about this team with y'all. So for Kris, I'm Jeff. Enjoy your Friday. Go Knicks.